No one is in here yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, Afrani. Welcome in. So I'm playing around with the live stream features again. I figured I would rather go live to record this video than to simply just record what I'm going to make for my next post. And so this is going to be kind of like a two birds and one stone. With the topic being comparing Ghost and Substack and Paragraph and Beehiiv. Did you have any questions? Really, in general, all these different platforms have a different appeal, and I know for some reason a lot of people really like Beehiiv, but as I said in the written post that I'll be launching here soon, I really do not like Beehiiv at all. And Substack I've actually been on and off of multiple times over the years, and Ghost has been tried and true for the last 6 years for me. So I have a lot of preferences, but a lot of good and bad things about each of them. And I actually talk about paragraph.xyz as well in the post. And I share a whole bunch of links to any other tools that I found over the years. So the first tab is just talking about these main tools, and then I have a whole section for alternative platforms, because obviously like kit.com is one of them as well, but even something like buttondown.com is something a lot of people don't know about. And then there's actually Web3 platforms like Paragraph or Mirror that people blog on, and they have technically a social network built into it as well, kind of like Substack, but given the way that a lot of Web3 platforms are currently, still kind of, I would still say like too new. I've been on Mastodon for the last like 4 or 5 years or whatever, however long it's been, and it's like that really hasn't grown much. There was also Gab and Hive.blog too, and so I guess at this point, I'm not sure if anyone else is going to be coming in or not. I probably should share to a couple different platforms real quick to make sure people actually see it, because they don't give you a preview either. So I have to actually like open up a tab and watch my own stream. Essentially speaking, when it comes to the idea of all these different platforms combined together, welcome back, whoever came in, whoever's watching, good to see you. I wanted to talk about the different blogging newsletter platforms, because there's a lot of email marketing platforms out there, but the blogging has this kind of social network effect, and the only one missing the social network effect is actually Beehiiv, because even Paragraph has the web blockchain network, Substack has Substack Notes, and Ghost now has the Fediverse network that they just added in Ghost 6.0. So I'm taking all the various newsletter platforms and sharing my experience with them, and to have for your consideration when you're deciding what platform you want to use. You could be on Substack right now and thinking about moving, or maybe you're not on any platform, you're just on Substack as a viewer. And so really, I wanted to make this for a variety of different kinds of people. I would consider myself a writer first. That's kind of the first and foremost thing I've started doing ever since I was a teenager. I was blogging on WordPress, and then years later, I went back to WordPress, went to Medium, went to Substack, went to a few other different platforms like Wix, and really jumped around a lot to try to find the best one for me. Wix was super slow. WordPress just kept breaking it left and right, no matter what you did, and you needed to have at least a dozen plugins for it to work. So I consider archaic. I consider not even worth mentioning beyond this point. And then I went to Ghost in 2019, and from then on, I have not looked back really. I have looked for alternatives to Ghost because I wanted this all-in-one platform in my head. That's what I was wanting, one for video and have it built into this experience. You can see the YouTube channel kind of built in. You can have the podcast kind of built in. And a lot of platforms, like Substack's podcasting feature, has the podcasting stuff built into it. And there are some Ghost themes that do it too. But sometimes that takes away from the written aspect. And I had that issue actually with my last theme on Ghost, where I wanted to have everything showcased on the homepage. So if you kept scrolling, you would see the blog posts and the YouTube and the podcast and the socials. And that was great, but I found that it ended up kind of distracting from the actual written content and the membership, which is what I needed to grow on the site. My new theme really focuses more on the variety of different tags that I have and the fact that it's all blog posts, really. I still have links to my YouTube and my podcast, and I think at some point I might try to find a player for the podcast. But that was my goal, right? That's why I experimented with all these different platforms, because I wanted to be able to showcase all three content types. As a modern content creator, I think you should be doing all three, as I mentioned in the last post. And I think that really, in the long run, that is the main idea. Being able to showcase all three, doing all three, and doing them well. And that way, if someone comes in, they're more of a listener, they like to listen to you, they can listen to your podcast. If they want to see these hand gestures that I'm doing with my hands right here, they can watch my videos. Or if they just want to simply mentally take in the information but not hear a voice, they could just read it. And having the option for all three, that's something that I should make a post about as well, because everybody consumes differently and everybody creates differently. So as I was saying, I consider myself a writer first, and it was really kind of awkward when I went to the podcasting conference the last couple of years, because that's kind of how I introduce myself. I'm a writer first, then a YouTuber, then a podcaster. That's how I see the hierarchy, but other people are the other way around. So it's really interesting as content creators where we come from, what we anchor to, and what we consume with. And the platform we're using to write these different tools, or different posts, the tools we use for it is very important. So I've used Substack off and on. I think the next best thing for me to do is just explain my history with Substack a little bit. And I started off with a blockchain blogging tool called AirText. And I was like, I want to make a public journal of just what I'm dealing with, me kind of free flow of thoughts, and I called this my fireside codex. It's kind of like a fireside chat, and the codex was kind of similar to the Da Vinci and notebooks and that kind of thing. And so that's why I had that idea. Eventually, I moved that to my Ghost website, or actually prior to that, I moved it to Substack because I wanted to try out Substack. I moved things over there, kept it going for a while, realized this wasn't a good fit for Substack. I think personal journals on Substack is a little bit, unless you're like a doctor, you have a really interesting take on things, they're not that interesting. Keep it on your personal site and call it a day. Then again, people do treat Substack as a personal site, so there's that dynamic. The next thing I worked on was my swimming newsletter, and that was actually probably the most successful out of all of my attempts thus far, because I first off pursued it for a long time. It also had a very niche topic, and I don't think it grew as much as it could have, but had I made it now with the video and audio features, I might have been able to do more with it. Maybe I'll bring it back to Substack because it's kind of dead in the water on my main site right now. That's more so because I'm not making the content for it, but I am leading up to the release of a book for that niche, and so I feel like that might be a good way to bring it back and just make another publication, bring those posts back, and continue it again. Then again, I have it on my Ghost site. There's no really point to move it unless I feel like it's a better place here. After that, I wanted to focus on my PIOS system, this life operating system for polymaths that I created, and that knowledge management is my main niche. That's what my website and my other YouTube channel is about. And I figured, why don't I make a specific series for capacities or a specific tool that I want to use in my framework with that tool. So it was very much more niche down compared to what the generic post I would make on my site. I didn't really pursue it much. I wasn't quite interested in that topic enough to really delve into it. And so I really didn't do anything with it. I replaced it once again with a travel blog. Or actually, no. Yeah, it was a travel blog at that time. And I started making some posts with it. And I really kind of thought it would be really fun because I didn't want to have that on my main site. I like the idea of having multiple niches, but kind of having their own bubbles so they can grow on their own without being anchored too much by the umbrella brand in this ecosystem. The travel blog had EDC, everyday carry, or travel slings, or suitcases, and a variety of different tags that I was going to go into down the line. I figured this would be a good way to get affiliate marketing too, so people can send me suitcases and I can review them, and I still might do that down the line, but I didn't really see myself making it often enough. It would have been more slow burn over the course of time. So I was like, okay, this niche is still not quite working out. I could have pursued it more, but I was really interested in the content. Over the years, I've loved talking about content creation. Even before I made the Content Polymath brand, I had it as the Polytools brand before, and even before that, the Poly in Content, like the polymathy in content creation. And so the Poly in Content brand was this content creation focused niche that I had created in order to pursue that niche as a topic as a content creator. But up until recently, I wasn't very focused on this niche. And now that I'm coming back to Substack and trying to take full advantage of all the features, like right now, I'm actually live streaming versus just recording this natively. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free and I'll respond to them on here. But thank you for watching for those of you who are here. And so it's just interesting to think about, there's all these features, the automatic video post to YouTube, which I should mention right now has not been working. And then on top of that, like the podcasting distribution, the live streaming, and the social network effect. So that is one reason why I'm back on Substack. The next platform is Paragraph. Paragraph is a blockchain-based social networking platform. What was really appealing to me about them was that they had this Web 2 sort of marketing, where they were marketing like a tool for this generation, like Substack or Ghost, but they were a Web 3 platform. So they were able to bridge those two worlds, because it was still too early for us to all adopt Web 3 stuff. And now, slowly but surely, Threads and Twitter and Blue Sky, they're all becoming more and more Fediverse and decentralized, and I wish Twitter was, but they're trying to, I think, eventually. And so this idea of decentralized platforms is really cool, but it's still kind of a bit too early for that. And I put my gaming blog on there, and I wanted to have it as a separate website, mainly because I had all these different, like Twitch and Kick and all these different links that I didn't want to fill up my main website's navigation for. That was actually kind of a major motivation for me to go to a different site instead of just having it on my main site. Eventually, they changed too much of their interface, and I talk about this in the written post below of the post I'm about to post for this video, and the thing is, they changed it so much that it actually broke a lot of the front end that I was trying to make for the gaming channels. So I just moved it back to my Ghost site, and you can see that's a common occurrence where it's like, okay, I work on building it on Paragraph, I work on building it in Substack, but something about those platforms weren't good enough at the time, and so I was like, okay, let's bring it into the fold and have everything into one system on Ghost. I still feel that way, despite the fact that I'm focusing on Substack right now, but I think that it's okay to have both. And while I personally have the preference of just syndicating things and bringing things into the fold, I'm trying to fight my own, basically, bias in order to take advantage of the features and the network effect of this new platform, or newer platform. The next topic is something I go into a lot more into the post, and I figured it's probably best for you to read, but I want to touch on it real quick, is Revue. Revue, R-E-V-U-E, is a newsletter platform, was a newsletter platform that Twitter acquired, and they had it built into the Twitter ecosystem. So on the actual profile, they would have a link to that person's newsletter. Exactly how Substack has their stuff. And I think they really kind of pushed it because they wanted to compete with Substack. And for some reason, they just depreciated it. And I think that was a big mistake. Over the course of me trying out that newsletter, I kind of liked it, to be honest. I kind of liked how it was like internalized into Twitter and really helped connect different people. Like, I might not really care about a person's Twitter profile, but their newsletter is really cool, and I found it through their profile. And so that was one of those things where I was like, this is an interesting concept, and I think we're bridging more and more. Hopefully all these different platforms will kind of adopt this. I think Ghost is trying to go for that, where you have your website and you have your publications, but you also have your social profile connected to that, and then that's connected to a network, and there's kind of that network effect built into the platforms, even more deeper than I think Substack has at this point. And I really think that that is the way the future is going to go, especially when it comes to other forms of content like video or pictures. Like Pinterest and Instagram are going to pull from the same pool of content, but the way to display the images are going to be different. And the same thing goes for written content and audio content. The way to display it and the way to actually share it will be different to each individual platform. That's the future of social media, though, and that's a whole nother topic I can get into another day. But I felt like Substack had too much minimalism at first. Eventually, they kind of added more themes and added more features, so it grew on me. Paragraph had its appeal, and they somehow lost it. They lost that spark or charm, and I moved off of there. Now let's get to Beehiiv. So you can almost hear it in my voice. I do not like Beehiiv. The interface is god-awful, and I tried writing on it multiple times. I tried actually 2 or 3 different occasions using Beehiiv, and it just actively fought against me. Every time I tried to write something, it would break on me. Every time I tried to use some of their features, they would hide it behind the paywall or make me go through a menu after menu after menu. Did not like it. It's still pretty much the same way. Yes, they have some of the best automations, and they have even marketing built into it. Cool. If the actual base features don't work that well, it's not worth it. But I had tried to actually start this channel, the one you're watching right now, the one you're reading right now, or listening to right now. I started on Beehiiv. I called it the Poly and Content Digest, and now it's the Polymathian Content, or the Polymathic Approach to Content Digest. And I wanted it to be the definitive content repurposing and content creation newsletter. And that was the whole point behind this whole series. Now, over time, I think that I tried like 1 or 2 newsletters before I jumped off of Beehiiv. And then I moved it to, I believe, my main website. And then I moved it to a different Ghost instance because I had made a PolyTools directory of all these different content creation tools that I had found. And I would love to share that database with you guys in the future too. But I had eventually take down that directory because it kept breaking on me and the cost was too much too. And so the maintenance and the cost just weren't worth me doing it. But I brought it into the fold once again to my main website. And I think I'm going to keep a lot of that there. I didn't move those posts over to Substack, but I think that Substack starting fresh is better. And if there's any standing outposts from the old site or the old blog for this series, I'm going to remake them and that's what I'm actually doing right now. This was a sequel post, if you will, to a previous comparison that I had made back when review was still even a thing. From there, I just wanted to touch on real quick before we get to the bonuses and the ending, is that I am still using both Substack and Ghost. And I sort of alluded to why earlier, but I feel like having Substack being separated from my main channel or my main content ecosystem a little bit, having its own little hub, if you will, allows it to kind of flourish and blossom on its own. The Content Polymath is the new name for something that I've been working on for years. And I wanted the polymath angle because I wanted you to realize that there's a multifaceted approach to content creation. You should be taking a multifaceted approach for one. But on top of that, if you are multifaceted, it kind of benefits you even more. But if you're a more specialist, you still can do it. And then I also wanted to kind of link towards my Polyinnovator personal brand, which is about polymathy. So it kind of has that semantic bridge. The Content Polymath also gives you the inclination, okay, it's not just one type of content, it's multiple types. So the name has a multifaceted approach in of itself, which I love. Like chef's kiss, I guess you could say. Not to toot my own horn a little bit, but the idea of the different series that I'm hosting on here, every episode is going to be a video, a blog post, and a podcast, and I'm really excited about that. I'm going to find a way to turn this video into clips using Opus Clip, and then I use NewLink as an automation tool to send everything out. And I'll talk about my tool stack eventually at some point on one of these posts. But I think that by having both, it allows for these posts to kind of individualize themselves a little bit more and grow in this network. But I share a lot of the cool links to other posts from my previous series and a whole bunch of other tools in the blog post that's going to accompany this video once I release it. Those of you who are watching live, thank you for being here. And so just getting into some of the bonus stuff, I wanted to share different platforms and ideas that I might not have touched on before. Alternative platforms for one. Kit.com, Typeshare.co, Buttondown.com are the top three that I would probably say go check out. They're probably not going to be better than Substack or Ghost. I think those are the top platforms for sure. I would probably rank them maybe equal to, if not better than Beehiiv. And Paragraph, I have not touched since I left them, but I might have to go check them out again. There's some Web3 platforms we can talk about. And then there's like some other microblogging, kind of social blogging kind of level of writing, but you can also do longer ones on these other platforms. They might be free, they might be very cheap, like bearblog.dev or let's see, Getpubli with two I's at the end. It's kind of similar to Ghost. There's also Superblog, which is kind of similar to Ghost. And so these are some interesting platforms that might just be fun to kind of go down a rabbit hole and go check out. And so I can't tell you which platform to pick, really, right? Each one is going to be dependent on your financial needs. Like Substack does take a lot of money with that 10% later on. At the beginning, if I were to, post, let's say I have like 4 subscribers, $5 each, and they take 10%, it's going to be like $2. That's not going to be a big deal. But once I get to 200,000 and that $20,000 is how much they take, that is a big deal. But they do give you the opportunity to leave. Unlike Medium. Medium actually tried to force everybody to stay on their platform, which was despicable. So when they started forcing their monetization strategies and changing things up, HackerNoon basically kind of had to soothe them almost in a way and force their way off. It was crazy. There are a lot of different platforms, and that really is the key here I wanted you to touch on. Yes, Substack is great. Yes, you should be on Substack, I think, or maybe Ghost, because they both have the social network. But go check out the other ones. That's kind of the fun thing. If anybody's watching right now and want to leave a comment, this is the time to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. All right. Well, thanks for watching.